If you guys don't know what's going on in Denver, Denver is basically going broke from the migrant crisis. Okay, Denver is spending hundreds of millions of dollars which they can't afford on the migrant crisis. Guys, Denver has the most migrants per capita. They have 40,000 migrants to almost 50,000, and the number is still growing. They have almost about the same amount of migrants as Chicago, which has a little over 50,000. Now, Denver's population is 700,000. Chicago is 2.1 million. Denver doesn't really have any sort of financial stuff, but Chicago is a massive financial hub with many of the stock orders from Wall Street being routed there. So Chicago's pretty lit. They have a lot more money to spend. Chicago could burn 200, 300 million bucks without feeling a thing, but Denver, if they burn 50 million, they could really feel the pain. Okay, Denver is a very, very tiny city, so I have no clue why they became such an enormous sanctuary city on the same scale as big Chicago. So many residents are just fed up with this. They're like, we don't want to be a migrant city. Why in the world would you want to be a migrant city? We were doing fine, but then you suddenly do this migrant stuff. Now our city is basically losing cash. Check this out. Denver is pleading with property owners to please rent to migrants. They can't just have migrants sleeping in tents on all their streets because the city now wants residents to house migrants. As closing several shelters, 4 to 5 of them, will be saving nearly $60 million. Many people are also complaining that why didn't you at the very least do some simple calculations to see how many migrants you could take in? Okay, the thing about a lot of these sanctuary cities is they take in like a lot of migrants and then they're like, oh shoot, I think we just got too many people in. What a lot of people are saying is, why didn't you just calculate first? Like, let's say you could only do 3,000 migrants and just take in 3,000 migrants, right? Open one shelter, help out 3,000 migrants. Why take in 40 to 50,000 people and then have most of them sleep on the street after like a month? This is why everyone's just super mad about the whole Denver migrant crisis. I mean, you already have New York City crumbling, Chicago crumbling. If you want to do the migrant crisis, you can, right? But at the very least, don't take in this many people. Just don't have the money or capital for it. And Denver is laying off government employees in order to pay for the migrant crisis, right? When the mayor's office was questioned, they said that some of the government employees will have their hours reduced to zero, but just don't call it a layoff. Bro, 0 hours. You're not getting anything done. Right? Many people are really frustrated. Did you know 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck? So they actually can't afford being laid off by the government. This is absolutely painful. This is one of the most painful things to do for any government employee. Being laid off from a job that is deemed pretty stable and a job that you basically would not be fired from. Okay, many government employees need this paycheck to send their kids to school, right? Some of them are their only breadwinner, and now they suddenly don't have income. They're like the only worker in the house, or their salary gets cut in half because maybe mom or dad doesn't work at the government anymore, and then suddenly you can't pay rent. Okay, suddenly your car bill is due. And now Denver's job market is very, very difficult. Now everyone is trying to scramble a job. Denver is also trying to get a bunch of jobs to the migrants. Okay, they're trying to make more work permits. And now residents are literally competing with the migrants for the few amount of jobs left. This is Denver, guys. This is why people are really frustrated on the city. And no wonder Mayor Mike Johnston is becoming highly unpopular. This is what's happening. This is what's happening everywhere in Denver. Now, many people are saying that the Denver migrant crisis, at first it started off with compassion, right? And over time, when it's being overwhelmed, the compassion is slowly being withered away. That's exactly what's happening. Okay, many people were pretty happy with the migrants. Okay, Denver is a very kind city. It's a fantastic city. I've been there before. It's great. But when you take in just too many people, this is what happens. This is what happens when you take in just so many people to the point now it's affecting the lives of everyday people. Not to mention the migrants and their conditions aren't great either. With shelters being closed, they're kind of forced to sleep on the streets. And I don't think a lot of property owners are cool with this because, first of all, you're renting like a house and for the migrants and the city's paying you up to just $2,000, right? This is a very capitalist market. We live in a capitalist environment. And obviously, people only rent out to people who are willing to pay top dollar. Denver's rent is extremely high. People say that you could give a migrant $1,000 a month for rent. That's $500 million, and plus, they can't find rent for $1,000 in Denver. It's such an expensive city. And Lakewood residents, the suburban city on the left side of Denver, is frustrated. They don't want to deal with this, right? They see Denver send millions of dollars on the new immigration crisis, and tensions are growing what to do. They're done. They don't want this, and they have voted no. Euroa, same thing. They holded several special meeting cases. Okay, they don't want to do this migrant crisis. These cities aren't big. Like, they have a Whole Foods, a Home Depot, and an In-N-Out. Like, what do you want them to do? They're not being mean. They just can't take in this sort of traffic. And this is happening here. Denver is basically alone. Okay, Denver probably thought they could probably get some of the suburban neighborhoods to come and help, but suburban neighborhoods, a lot of these members and city councils, they're not falling for this. They can't deal with this sort of traffic. They're small suburban towns. They can't take in 10,000 migrants. It's impossible. At most, maybe 100. That's really it. I'm being serious. So that's really about it. This is what it looks like for Denver. Okay, it's getting kind of sad. This is one of the hottest cities post-pandemic, and now it's becoming one of the worst cities to be in.